Hey everybody, Mags here. We are going to review some of the hints and tips that we've been given this year on the Dynasty Hot Seat. If you are new here, do me a favor, can you like, comment, share on this video for me, please, like you can see here. And then also, if you're new here, why not hit that subscribe button too? It really helps out. Right, on to the hints and tips.
The first one sounds very silly and simplistic, but you'd be amazed how many times I've been in a startup and we get about 15 rounds in, and then somebody goes in the group chat like, "Oh wait, this is Superflex," or something crazy. So
Yeah,
honestly, like one of my biggest hints and tips is always double check the settings, the league settings. So like how many quarterbacks, how many running backs, how many wide receivers, is it best ball, is it, what is the story here, what's the situation, is there going to be a taxi squad, like how many, are the rookies included in the startup, are they going to be a separate rookie draft, just all that kind of boring stuff. You really need to really double and triple check and make sure, especially if it's one of your first startups, you want to know, because honestly, like if I'm in a best ball versus like just a regular one QB, that's a completely different strategy for me. If I'm in a, super flex versus a one QB, it's very different. If I'm a tight end premium, so all those kind of things really impact or should impact your drafting really. So that would be my first one, would just be like, make sure that you really know the settings. As far as like starters, like how many starters are you going to have every week? How much bench depth do you have? Things like that. I think another one is very similar, but even just like the scoring, like make sure that, because I'm in, like, for example, I'm in a lot of leagues, probably too many leagues, but
yeah.
I'm in some leagues where, it's crazy tight end scoring, where it's like one
Mm,
and a half, premium or something like that. So
mm.
every time your tight end catches a pass, it's worth like 2 or 2.5 points or something ridiculous. So in
It's
that
huge.
sort of, yeah, exactly. In that one, it's not just a tight end premium. It's like a massive tight end advantage. And
Mm.
funny enough, in that particular league, because I was paying attention, and I knew that, I ended up taking like probably two or three of the kind of heavier kind of elite tight ends in the first like 5 or 6 rounds. And people were kind of laughing at me a little bit at the time. They weren't really paying attention, I don't think, to like how heavy of a tight end premium we'd agreed.
Mm.
Um, Long story short, like I've been in the finals and the semifinals the last 2 years, of the league, because I had Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, I drafted Kyle Pitts in our rookie draft last year. Like I was just like,
Wow. Yeah.
any and all tight ends, because we have two or three flex. So we've got our tight end slot. So in theory, especially when it comes down to that time of the season when everyone's getting injured and stuff, I'm rolling out like three tight ends every week in my lineup, because you can get
Yeah.
20 points from these guys.
And
Whereas,
yeah, people like Mark Andrews. I make Mark Andrews, if you converted his points to wide receiver, he would have been like wide receiver five anyway. So you add 2 points on top of that per reset, like that is crazy high numbers. So, and you're
yeah,
right, that all comes from just, reading the rules. I'm a primary school teacher by trade, and I tell my kids all the time, you gotta read the question. So it's the same thing here. You got to read the rules. You got to read the
yeah.
setting and just know what you're getting in for before, you end up drafting someone that you shouldn't have or missing out on someone that would have been a league winner because you didn't read the rules.
Exactly. And I think for me, that's one thing I'm very big on, is like my drafting style very much will depend on the league size even. So again, another hint or tip could be really just digging into like what size league have you signed up to, because honestly, like I will draft differently if I'm in a 16 team league than if I'm in a 10 team league. I was in
Absolutely.
a 16 team, we did a 16 team startup last year, the year before, that was a super flex. And so my first 2 rounds was like quarterbacks. I was like, I wasn't even thinking about anything other than quarterbacks, because I'm like, this is a
Hmm.
16 team league. We're not going to have enough quarterbacks to go around.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, I did a 10 team super flex startup like last year, and kind of waited on quarterback a little bit,
Mm.
because I was like, hey, I was near the end of the draft, and I was like, well, rather than fighting for scraps, why don't I'm going to take some of the elite positional players. And then because it's only 10 teams, very unlikely that everyone's going to try and hoard 5 quarterbacks. So even
Mm.
though it's 10 teams, I can still get a pretty good quarterback in the third, fourth, or fifth round versus needing to get that in the first or second round. So
Mm.
again, just, I guess those are sort of a couple of hints or tips that are boring sounding, but they really can help you a lot and set you up, because you're not going to win your league or completely dominate your draft, your league just from the draft, but you can really shoot yourself in the foot in a draft, and you can leave
Yeah.
kind of with a big hole that you've then got to start digging yourself out of. And it's okay if you want to, if you're going in trying to start out with a productive struggle and that's your mindset, that's okay. But you don't want to go in trying to do your best and you just didn't pay attention to the settings, or you didn't really pay attention to what the league format was. And therefore you're like hoping to compete, but instead you're like, oh shoot, I've only got one quarterback and it's a super flex, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, I think that is great, great advice. And you're right, you said at the start it might seem obvious, but you're right, you just seen an example the other day of someone would go like, oh, I didn't realize in like the 15, I didn't realize it was this. There's always one guy, and it's like, you don't want to be that guy. So make sure you've read through, make sure you've paid attention, and make sure that you're, getting an advantage every single little place that you can. So I thought those are some amazing hints and tips that you're able to share there.
And the only other thing, off the top of my head that I would say, is massive, especially if it's your first couple startups, is I know that we talk about in Dynasty, longer shelf lives, and like we're talking about longer leagues lasting hopefully for years, but don't be too obsessed with rookies or young players either. You don't want to bypass, for me, age will be like a tiebreaker. Like if I'm looking at two players and I'm expecting similar production out of them, and one player is significantly younger, then I'll absolutely gear towards that player. But if I'm looking and my best options on the board is Cooper Cup or Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm going to take Cooper Cup. You know what I mean? Because ultimately you want to win. And, especially with wide receivers and quarterbacks and even tight ends, don't need to be as scared of age as you think you do in Dynasty. I mean, running backs is maybe a different story, but yeah, just don't be too, I know, because first couple times you do a startup, it's really can be intimidating, and you think you need to only get players 23 and like that on your team.
Yeah. And there's sometimes nothing better than a safe pair of hands, like a Cooper Cup, or like someone that you can just put in. You're not having to worry about, you know, when is, this X person going to leave this team so my rookie can be the guy, or just play it safe sometimes is worth it for a couple of positions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you say, you want a good mix, and ultimately, I mean, I've been really, I've been pretty patient and pretty self-restrained this year. I'm only in one startup so far this year, and the one I'm in is I have gone down the route of like trying mostly to get young upside players, but that's just something that I'm experimenting with in this particular draft. And it's not something I'm saying you have to, and it's because I feel pretty confident and comfortable with my drafting strategy and with my trading strategies, because I love trading. So
Yeah.
the good thing about younger players, if you're drafting well and they're younger, they will only increase in value, so you'll be able to get more for them. So that is a good side to it. But I just don't want people going out and like, if there's a really great value sitting in the fifth round, they just like, no, I couldn't possibly draft Aaron Rodgers because he's 38 years old or something.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. Remember, like this video, leave a comment if you want, and subscribe to the channel. These videos are going to be coming thick and fast, so you don't want to miss anything. So that's it for today. In the meantime, keep your teams lit. We'll see you next time.